Hello, hello, and welcome to Accio Politics, a podcast that discusses politics in the wizarding world. I'm Adri, one of your hosts, and a recovering English major who is not only contemplating the nursery color, which is going to be one of Helene's favorite colors, but also just sick and tired of the Omicron variant.
Yes, I feel you there. As Adri alluded to, I'm Helene, your co-host, producer, and someone who is currently a healthy mix of optimistic and cynical, which, not bad, not bad.
All things balance, Helene. All things balance.
I'm a healthy mix of optimistic and critical and cynical in lots of different areas, such as, like the COVID situation, personal things, like just in general. Right now, it's a healthy mix. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, today, speaking of mixes, I'm not sure if there is a healthy mix in this chapter. We're going to be talking about chapter 19, titled Elf Tales of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Yes. And this is the one where Harry deals with the fallout from Ron's poisoning, including being badgered by McLaggen and Lavender around the clock. Harry's obsession with Malfoy grows, but in the meantime, the Gryffindor Quidditch team loses miserably to Hufflepuff after McLaggen cracks Harry's skull with a bludger. Ugh. Damn McLaggen. But while in the hospital ring, Harry realizes he can enlist the help of his house elf friends to help him figure out what's going on with Malfoy.
I love a good, main character figures out a plot hole.
Yeah, it's the Harry Epiphany chapter, I guess.
Oh, man. Just getting to see Dobby again just warms my heart.
Yeah.
We're not thinking about what happens in the next book. Just let me live here.
Yeah, we're not there yet. We don't have to think about it yet. It's fine.
So when you were reading this chapter, Helene, what was the politic that kind of jumped out at you?
So I went with, I'm not 100% sure if this is really is like a political, topic, I guess, word. But it was the theme that I've definitly saw in this chapter.
Okay, let's talk about themes then.
Yeah, I mean, and like definitely this theme can be seen in different political settings. But I went with theorizing. So we see theorizing in political settings in terms of conspiracy theories, QAnon. They do a lot of theorizing. But in general,
you mean, I'm sorry, they do their own research, Helene. I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't know if theorizing always means that there has to be research to back it up.
No, but you know how they tell you to do your own, you have to do your own research, be a free thinker. And I'm like,
yes. True. No. Actually, search out for the truth. That would be helpful. Listen to trusted sources, trust those sources, all of those things. But no, the theme that I saw in this chapter was theorizing because the Weasley family, along with Harry, Hermione, and Hagrid, spend a really good amount of time in the chapter trying to figure out how Ron came to be poisoned, thinking of all the different possibilities, about where the poison came from, how it came to be in Slughorn's possession, whose intended victim it was to begin with, all of those things. And then also later in the chapter, Hagrid recounts an argument he overheard between Dumbledore and Snape, and Harry starts theorizing about what they could have possibly been arguing about and why. And then, as Harry does in this entire book, he continues to theorize about what Malfoy might be up to. He decides to take action towards finding out the truth, of what he's theorizing about. Instead of just sitting there and theorizing about it, he actually takes action to figure out the truth by having Kreacher and Dobby follow him. Because in the end, his endless theories just aren't enough for him anymore, and he's hit a wall, and he wants to stop theorizing and do.
He at least he relied on trustworthy sources. I guess the house elves would report back to him faithfully. It's not like a YouTube conspiracy video of a guy in a corkboard,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So there's just a lot of theorizing going on in this chapter. Lots of people just kind of throwing out their guesses as to what might be going on in terms of things that they don't have that inside perspective on. So that's why I picked that. What about you?
I chose the politics of arrogance. In our political climate, we've seen how arrogance can lead to like tribalism and sharing of misinformation to the detriment of others. And by that I mean COVID and also the election. you know.
Yeah, yeah.
In this chapter, we have McLaggen believing he knows better than anyone what everyone should be doing, which affects Harry in a very real way.
Oh my god.
And we also see the Weasley twins who could be arrogant now that they're like successful, but they're not. So we see kind of like a nice little tension between McLaggen and like the Weasley twins, because the Weasley twins are not like out there bragging about, oh, we were just here to like purchase the Zonko's like Hogsmeade branch and like all these things that they could have been saying to brag about how successful they are and rich they are now. And they have real success versus McLaggen, who has zero real success but wants to tell everyone what to do.
Okay, so you're noticing a lack of arrogance in Fred and George, is what you're saying.
Yeah, like I'm noticing a tension between like those two characters in the chapter, like which kind of balances it out. And I know we talked about, earlier, like in all things balance, but what to me shows that the character is all about arrogance is that there's those tension-filled moments between like very humble characters and very arrogant characters. And Harry's obsession with Malfoy is a result of, I'll say this, arrogance, because he is so sure he is right. This doesn't let him see what is obviously in front of him, or lets him focus on what Dumbledore asked him to do in the first place.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like Harry is one of our least arrogant characters in the series, but I guess I can see.
I mean, I'm not saying Harry is arrogant as a character. He does have arrogance in this one thing.
Yeah, I can see an argument for that. I also feel like some of it has to do with the fact that like he isn't being believed. Like he thinks he's right,
which makes you go harder.
yeah. Like you kind of swing the other way because you get defensive, right? Like he thinks he's right, but everybody's telling him that he's wrong, and therefore he's like, no, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm right. I know I'm right about this. And to be fair, he is right.
Just maybe not in the way that he thought he was right. I don't know. It's interesting to me. I mean, we talk about arrogance as like this terrible quality, right? And I'm not saying like Harry is at his core an arrogant character, but all of us have arrogance.
Right.
In something, whether we want to admit it or not. Whether or not that is a bad quality to have depends on the effect that you have on other people.
Right.
So, for instance, like ambition, I don't think that's a bad trait to have. I think that's a fantastic trait to have. Now, if you are willing to hurt other people because of your ambitions, then that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
That's when it becomes a problem. So, there's that tension when I mentioned, like, with the twins' humility and McLaggen's arrogance, and Harry's somewhere in between that in terms of how he affects other people.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so let's dive, like we've already kind of talked about what happens in the chapter. So let's do a deep dive on what specifically jumped out at us that made us think about our politic. Helene, what was the moment that you chose?
Yeah, so I have a quote. It's pretty long, so brace yourself. Okay, it says, Slughorn poured it out. Would he have been able to slip something into Ron's glass without you seeing? Probably, said Harry, but why would Slughorn want to poison Ron? No idea, said Fred, frowning. You don't think he could have mixed up the glasses by mistake, meaning to get to you? Why would Slughorn want to poison Harry? Asked Ginny. I don't know, said Fred, but there must be loads of people who'd like to poison Harry, mustn't there? The chosen one and all that. So you think Slughorn's a Death Eater? Said Ginny. Anything's possible, said Fred darkly. He could be under the Imperious curse, said George. Or he could be innocent, said Ginny. The poison could have been in the bottle, in which case it was probably meant for Slughorn himself. Who'd want to kill Slughorn? So just like this whole scene, the whole scene of like just going back and forth, questions and questions and questions. No one has an answer, it's like all very up in the air. Everybody's like, oh, well, could it be this? Well, could it be this? Yeah, and I mean that was a big part of the chapter, and that just the fact that it just continued to happen multiple times in multiple different situations and different characters proved to me that this was definitely an ongoing theme.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I think that you're completely right. I can see how your quote or moment was very much about like theorizing and conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to make sure. I knew it was long, but I was like, I have to include all of it because it just the whole thing was like it just wouldn't have worked without it. So I literally spent like a good 15 minutes just like typing out this long ass quote. But it was worth it.
I would say it was worth it. So mine is not necessarily about, okay, let me start over. Mine is about like the tension that we have been discussing, right? About arrogance and humility. And
Okay.
to me, what made the theme of the chapter pop out even more was the Weasley twins talking about their like business ventures, which I'll get to it in a second. But it's almost like putting salt in your chocolate chip cookie like dough so that the sweetness can come out a little bit more,
Hmm.
like in your batter. Like
Yeah.
that usually makes sweets better. So here it is. There we were, in Hogsmeade, waiting to surprise him, said George. You're in Hogsmeade? Asked Ginny, looking up. We were thinking of buying Zonkos, said Fred gloomily. A Hogsmeade branch, you know, but fat a lot of good it'll do us if you lot aren't allowed out at weekends to buy our stuff anymore. But never mind that now. So,
Yeah. I like how they like specifically try to not make it about them. Yeah, I like
I
that.
know. And then we have McLaggen later on in the chapter making it all about himself, right? So then it's like, ugh, so
Fucking
annoying.
McLaggen is the fucking worst.
So yeah, the reason I liked this instance is because Fred and George lack arrogance in what they could actually be very arrogant if they wanted to, because they've been bullied and harassed for being poor all their lives,
Oh,
So
totally.
like they could have gone a different way. Um they've built and done is nothing shy of entrepreneurial genius, and they're not going around trying to convince anyone of their greatness. They show great business acumen, and yet they play it off and read the room. Unlike, again, McLaggen, who does not read the fucking room.
God, no. He is missing some social cues for sure, that
Like,
boy.
trying to give Harry advice even before the match starts. Like, he's like, I have some pointers for you.
I mean, he is definitely a narcissist. Like there are many different psychological issues I can diagnose him with right now off the top of my head.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just, his arrogance causes so much problems. Like, he can't even do his job right because he's trying to show other people how to do their jobs, but not even making sure he's doing his job well. Like, that is the worst.
Yeah. I agree.
Ugh, gross. Anyway, speaking of characters that we don't like, or speaking of characters in general, who was the character who was your theorizer in chief, if we will?
Yeah, so the person I picked, he wasn't in the quote that I picked. He wasn't talking at all. I chose Harry though because in the other instances of theorizing in the chapter, he's kind of like at the center. So like he is the one that is theorizing about what Snape and Dumbledore are fighting about when Hagrid tells him about that fight. And then he's obviously the one that's like very focused on theorizing exactly what Malfoy could be up to this entire book. He replays all these different scenarios and possibilities in his head and kind of tries to figure out what is the most likely, what is the least likely. And so he's our theorizing boy, I would say, in this chapter.
Yeah, he's constantly been theorizing throughout this book as well. So
Yeah. Yep. What about you for arrogance? I mean, I feel like I don't even have to ask, but
I mean,
I
of
mean,
course, McLaggen, 1,000%.
yeah, right. I mean, yeah, he's the picture of
I mean,
arrogance.
I would have also said Draco,
Yeah,
but McLaggen though, he just takes
yeah.
it over the edge.
Yeah, I mean, like we don't see a lot of McLaggen in this series in general, but when we
Thank
see
fucking
him,
God.
Yeah, when we see him, it's like in these concentrated doses of like just an intolerableness. Like I cannot handle him.
I mean, my biggest fear in life is that I'm a McLagan and no one has told me.
Ooh, that is a valid fear to have. Not, I mean, in general, not that you.
Oh, not that I have the traits of a
No,
McLagan. Thank you.
not that it's like not that you should be afraid of that because it's true. I mean, like in general, that is like that would be a fear to have. That would be like a real thing to be afraid of.
Just
Yeah.
like, just like, hey, how would you like to be compared to like a very unlikable character? Hmm.
And like when people think about characters they don't like in the series, I bet you McLaggen doesn't even make the top 10. But it's
But when
because
you're
he's
reading
so
it chapter by
forgettable.
chapter,
Yeah.
it can make it. You
Yeah.
know.
Yep. 100% agreed.
I mean, he's no Bellatrix like Strange. Let's be real. But like, oh god, he's so annoying.
Yeah. He's part of my he's one part of my Dementor, and I will explain a little bit more as to like the
Oh, I
main
can't wait.
thing
I can't
that
wait.
irks me about him. There's this one main thing that irks me about him. But yes, I agree.
All right. So throughout this book in particular, how do we see the theme of theorizing?
Well, I kind of thought about it in terms of like Harry and Dumbledore have these private lessons the whole book, right? And the whole book they're kind of going through the evidence, like the past, what they have in front of them, and what they're doing is they're kind of theorizing what all of that could mean in terms of what Voldemort is up to, what he's done, what he's planning. They're taking all of their evidence and they're kind of just trying to figure out what the best, most plausible explanation for all of these things that they've learned is.
And they're trying to like fill all the plot holes, you know, like, hey
Yeah.
Harry, I need you to go and get this part from Professor Slughorn.
Yeah.
You know, wink,
Yeah,
wink.
exactly. So they're coming up with plausible theories of what Voldemort is planning, based on what they learned in the past and through his past with these memories that Dumbledore is able to secure from people. So, I will say though, it's probably safe to assume that Dumbledore knows most of these answers already. So he might not be theorizing as much, but he's more like leading Harry while Harry theorizes.
Well, I
Um,
mean, Dumbledore at this point is like he has eliminated all the bad answers on a multiple choice exam,
right?
and he
Yeah.
knows pretty much what the real answer is. But you know, he wants confirmation.
Yeah.
And proof that he, by his process of elimination, got to the right conclusion.
Exactly. Yeah. So, what about you with arrogance? Where do you think we see arrogance throughout the book?
Well, like I said, I don't think arrogance is a particular like bad thing in a character, as long as that's not the only thing about the character that we see.
Mm-hmm.
But like in this book, we can see how Harry refuses to see how his tunnel vision is a byproduct of his arrogance, and he knows so much by now. But that doesn't mean he knows everything, and that I think is a lesson for all of us in there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it would be a more impactful lesson if Harry turned out to be wrong. Like, I guess
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
at the end of
Yeah, but
Order
like,
of the Phoenix,
but it's
like
true that he's like right, but he's not like completely right about everything.
yeah,
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 I mean, and we've seen instances like you say that it's even like more so that he was clearly wrong, like Prisoner of
yeah.
Azkaban, Order of the Phoenix,
Yeah, I was gonna say
and
like
such.
at the end of Order of the Phoenix, he's like so sure that he like that the what he saw of Sirius being in the Department of Mysteries is real, it's true, he has to go save him. And then it turns out that, he was wrong and, puts a bunch of people in danger and ends up like, Sirius ends up dying and people get injured. And so like I think that would be a good example of his arrogance in a way. Like
I
he
think
won't
that
listen to reason that he could have been like led astray when Hermione tries to tell him, oh, what if this is a trap? Like he won't listen to it because he's just so sure he's right.
what I'm trying to convey, and maybe I'm not doing a really good job of it, is I'm not saying, of course, I'm not saying Harry's completely wrong. I think that he's grown a lot in his deductive skills, and he's
Mm-hmm.
grown a lot in like trying to see the truth for the truth and not for what he wants it to be, right?
Okay.
Because that's a part of grief. right? Like
Mm-hmm.
he's working through his grief.
Yeah.
But I think that many of us, myself included, get to a point in our lives, in our careers, where we've experienced a lot and we know a lot, but we can't let that push us into arrogance, into thinking like we have no more growth to do. And like
Yeah.
that's where I'm at, where it's like I think that's a great lesson for us all, that just because we're good and we've gotten so much better than what we used to be doesn't mean that that we've stopped growing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
I mean, I'm just speaking for myself.
Yeah.
Like so many times I've been sure, like, of course I'm right because I have all this experience, like at my job or whatever. And then it turns out I'm like 75% right, but I needed a little bit more experience to understand that 25% where I wasn't.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So just to remain open to the possibility that you're not completely right.
Yeah. I also think that a good example of arrogance throughout the book would probably be like just Slughorn's character in general.
Oh my God. Of course. Like 1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he is really like pride and arrogance are like his big Achilles heel. Like that is his fatal flaw, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so yeah, I mean he's just like when I think of arrogance, at least in Half Blood Prince, I definitely my mind goes straight to Slughorn.
Yeah. I mean, Slughorn collects trophies. Need I say more?
Oh, right, exactly.
Which kind of makes, as we know, makes me feel icky. Also makes me feel icky, the mentors,
Yeah, yeah,
So
same.
let's move on to our Dementors in chocolate, Helene. Helene, what did you not like about this chapter? What was your big Dementor?
Well, my main one was actually Lavender.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really didn't like her reaction to Ron being poisoned. I just felt like it was very shallow, and she accusing Hermione of only being his friend again because he got, quote unquote interesting was super stupid and low and like petty of her. And honestly, she seemed to care more about like the optics and like how people were going to perceive her and Ron and all of their friends,
Mm-hmm.
more than she actually cared about Ron's well-being. Like her boyfriend almost died, and I feel like
Well, yeah.
she doesn't seem to really care about that as much. It's just more like, oh, like my boyfriend almost died, so like that means that people are talking about him, which means that like people are like, I'm more popular now that I'm linked to him or whatever. I don't know. That's just kind of how it came off to me. I really
Yeah.
didn't like it. The whole vibe, just wasn't feeling it. Uh,
just not, it was not a vibe I wanted to catch,
yes. And then also, as I mentioned before, McLagan, uh, just fucking annoyed the shit out of me in this chapter. And I gotta say, main reason, mansplaining.
Ugh,
Like
the
all the
worst.
fucking mansplaining, and it wasn't even just like yeah, he did a lot of the mansplaining to men. Like so, there was some mansplaining to women. Obviously, like there are women on the Quidditch team, Ginny, all those types of like times where he was mansplaining to both genders, but a lot of it was mainly to Harry. Which I mean, I don't know if you can technically mansplain to another man, but he was doing it.
Just like, again, the sheer arrogance of it all, just annoying as hell.
Yep, yep, yep. Just like pretending that he knew more than Harry did. Just automatically assuming that he should have been captain instead of Harry, without taking into consideration that maybe he doesn't know the best
Everything.
for everything. Yeah, he doesn't know everything about everything that he could possibly need to know. It was just
Just
very
because
frustrating.
something looks easy doesn't mean it is easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what he fell into, that trap of like, how hard, I mean, it seems like Harry is wasting away. He should be doing this and that. It looks like what he's doing is easy. I bet I could do a better job.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, arrogance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what about you? What was the Dementor that you had for this chapter?
All right. I mean, this one's a deep cut. The moment where Madame Pomfrey miscounts Hagrid as more than one person due to his size, not here for it.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about that part.
It's just like fat phobia, sizeism, like all rolled into one. Just disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like those types of comments are always just kind of like slid under the rug when it comes to Hagrid and just kind of
Just like
dismissed because
like a slight comic relief that I don't find funny.
yeah, they're easily dismissed by both the author and most of the readers because I mean, it's just like, oh, he's a half giant, haha, he's large,
Ha ha. No, gross.
like, oh, it's the
No.
magical reasons, but like, in the real world, if he wasn't a half giant, like he'd still be a big man,
Yep.
like it's a metaphor.
So gross. I hate it.
Yeah.
But I just want to move on from like this grossness and talk about what we actually liked in the chapter, because
Yeah.
let's not dwell on this negativity and this vibe.
Yeah. Well, mine was something that Mr. Weasley said at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Well, all I can say is that it was a lucky day for the Weasleys when Ron decided to sit in your compartment on the Hogwarts Express, Harry."
Beautiful.
It was just so cute, like they're talking about how Harry has saved like multiple Weasley's lives at this point, including
Mm-hmm.
his own, including Arthur's. He saved Ron more than once. He saved Ginny in Chamber of Secrets. Like they're like half the Weasleys would be dead if Harry was not around. So it was just cute to see that little, acknowledgement of love between Harry and the Weasleys.
It was. I mean, it always gets me a little bit teary eyed. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
might be the pregnancy. Who knows?
Right. The hormones.
Mine was when Ron was like, Hermione, when he was delirious or unconscious or whatever that was. I was like, yes, look at that.
Yeah, I mean, can't hide those feelings when you're under the influence of strong hospital drugs.
Yeah, just loved it. I was like, look at that. Look at my little baby nugget.
Yeah, he loves her. We all knew this.
I mean, obviously we all know. But the thing that all of us should also know is that this show has a Patreon.
It does.
Where we like give super cool rewards to our patrons,
Yeah, we do.
And you could go to patreon.com/occupolitics and get access to that cool stuff.
Yeah, as you've probably heard us mention on other episodes, there are tiers. You can choose which level you want to contribute each month. You can choose to donate however much money per month you would like to, and depending on the amount, you get different types of rewards. So if you donate $2 a month or more, you'll get access to our exclusive bonus content that we record every week for every episode. And if you decide to donate at least $5 a month or more, or $10 a month or more, you will get physical rewards every 3 months, such as stickers and recipe cards and lots of cool things that we highly suggest you check out at patreon.com/aciopolitics.
Awesome. Today's Patreon exclusive content. We're going to be talking about what it would look like if we gender swapped Argus Filch. What would that look like in the narrative?
Filchy. Oh, Filchy Filch.
Someone who does show up in this chapter and we didn't talk about.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Every episode, we ask our listeners one question. And last time, we asked our listeners the following question. Why do you think the Imperious Curse is illegal and love potions are not? What was the response, Helene?
All right, we got a couple of responses. So, the first is a conversation that we had with Charvale, at Charvale on Twitter. So they originally responded to the question with, love potions only give a person the symptoms of love and may not work on everyone, while the Imperious Curse is full control of a person by someone else. So I saw this and I responded with, the potion takes away the person's consent and makes them do things they would not normally do when not under its control, as does the Imperious Curse. We also see that the curse doesn't work on everyone, since Harry does resist it in Goblet of Fire. And they responded with the following. So they said, true, Tom Riddle Sr. ended up marrying Merope Gaunt and having a kid. Not sure then, because love potions are even marketed to kids, which suggests that they could be less dangerous. However, if you look at the United States, you can legally own a rifle at any age in several states. Maybe it depends on what a person will do under the effects of it. Imperious curse can make them do anything, while a love potion is going to make a person do things with regard to love, question mark. Even though both take away consent, one is a limited amount of control while the other one is more broad.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I thought this made a really good point in the fact that love potions are marketed to kids. This is true. So not only are they legal, while the Imperious Curse is not, but they are targeted to younger audiences, which is terrifying.
Yeah, and something that is targeted to younger audiences doesn't make it safe, right? Just because it's targeted. It just makes it, if it's dangerous, it makes it even possibly more dangerous. Just like the example with the guns.
Yeah, like it makes, because these are you're putting this product in the hands of humans whose prefrontal cortexes have not fully developed. They have poor impulse control. They, like, their decision making areas of the brain are not primed to
handle the responsibility.
Yes, they have these responsibilities, exactly. So it makes something that's scary and dangerous even a little bit more scary and dangerous, because while somebody using a love potion like that already is kind of unpredictable in the hands of child like use, it's way more unpredictable and therefore a lot more dangerous. So
agreed.
Yeah. So then we also heard from Decatur Wine Poet on Instagram. They said, love potions are made with the ingredients bought at a store. There is a financial incentive to keep those stores and the suppliers in business. This is the lobbying power of big apothecary. Sorry, I thought that was funny. And probably Hallmark cards too.
I believe it. I believe it.
So yeah, this response actually gave me a whole new perspective, because I was thinking, misogyny all the way, right? I had not
that would be my answer to everything, honestly.
Yeah, I had not even considered capitalism.
It's just the water we swim in every day, Helene.
Yeah, no, I had not even considered capitalism. And so, like, I was like, wait, that makes so much sense, because you can't make money off of the Imperious Curse. I mean, like, you can't sell an Imperious Curse in store.
But you could definitely sell a love potion.
Yeah, not only can you sell a love potion, but you can sell the ingredients to make a love potion. There's a lot of money to be made here.
And the books on how to make it,
Yeah.
Possibilities are endless.
So, like, it's just crazy. So, I mean, yeah, wow,
Big oh my god, I don't even know. Apothecary?
Yes, big apothecary. I loved that.
I swear I'm not drunk. I'm just pregnant.
Yes, and magical Hallmark cards, like she said, for like Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
it's funny. But also not funny, because it's like horribly terrifying that this is like anyway.
Well, this is our brand.
We laugh to cope. It's our coping mechanism.
Yep.
Yeah. So then the last one I wanted to bring up was Jen Fincher on Instagram. They replied with, like, well, what about Obliviate? Like, that should be illegal too.
Yeah, and you're taking away someone's like agency through their memories.
Yeah, like, I hadn't really thought about that either, and I don't know how much Obliviate is really regulated, or I don't know. We know
it's not considered. I don't think it's traceable. Like, and
no,
it's not considered like unspeakable.
Yeah, it's not an unforgivable curse at all. I don't remember if they teach it in school to children or not. Like, I don't know if they teach it at Hogwarts.
But they have to find out how to do it somewhere once they get to their careers, right? If they're like in the Ministry of Magic.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that you can change a person's entire identity with that spell. I mean, Hermione does it to her parents, right? Like, she makes them forget that.
How did Gilderoy Lockhart, learn?
Exactly. Like, he stole people's livelihoods and futures and accomplishments with that spell. Like, that is I don't know if I would say just as bad as the Imperious Curse, but it is very on that, like, almost to that level.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So yeah, that's a good point too. Thank you for bringing that up. I had not thought about that. So
Well, I think it's because the wizards usually use it mostly on muggles that they think it's okay because of course they see like in the hierarchy of things like muggles as like maybe lower than or like to keep their secrets, you know?
yeah, like I guess then it's kind of like what is it being used for is then kind of what comes into question. So if it's being used to protect magic from, to protect the statute of secrecy, then that's one thing.
Yeah, but you know what? You know what though? Like to protect the statute of secrecy could be like used as kind of like how people use like the quote unquote war on drugs or the war on terror, quote unquote, to do terrible things to
Yeah.
other people. So
Yeah.
I think
I'm
it's
not
just like
saying
when
it's
you
good. I'm just
no
saying
no
like
no no
it's
no. I
more
understand what
socially
you're saying.
acceptable. It's more
No,
socially acceptable.
I completely understand what you're saying, but I'm trying to kind of
Yeah.
expand the discussion a little bit into saying like I understand that there might be real reasons why they do it, but up to what point are they going to use the statute of secrecy to maintain wizard supremacy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, you could just as easily turn around and commit a crime. You could rape someone, you could murder someone, and just use Obliviate to cover your tracks. You could use Obliviate to make the person forget that they were ever assaulted. Like
Ugh.
there's lots of things that you could do with that spell that are just as
Well,
bad
technically,
as the
like what
Imperious Curse.
Gilderoy does, like, is theft and assault, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So gross. Yeah.
yeah.
Disgusting.
So anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for your responses. As always, they're so interesting. I love hearing your guys' point of view. As you can tell with this specific question, like you guys brought up so many things I had not even considered, and I love it. Like it bringing your perspectives into the conversation is exactly why we ask these questions. So keep them coming. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it broadens our perspective, makes us think about things that we never really thought about. Because honestly, I was just ready to say, of course, it's about misogyny. Because like the people using love potions are women, you know?
Exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And then who would have ever, yeah, I had not even for once considered capitalism. So that was very insightful. Thank you.
Or other spells that also tamper with people's autonomy and agency, like Obliviate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love this.
Yeah, me too.
Well, this week, or on this episode, we talked about the politics of theorizing, and that made us wonder about another sort of theorizing, the fun kind that we get to do in the fandom. And that is the theorizing of headcanon, which is where you just, make up the story that you wanted for your characters, or like a side quest or a side story that maybe didn't happen on the page. So we want to know, what's your favorite Wizarding World or Harry Potter headcanon? I can't wait to hear all the answers, Helene.
Yes, I love hearing headcanons. Some of them are just like so incredibly creative that like I read some of them and I'm like, how did that not end up in the book? Like that is perfect.
Correct. Yes.
So I'm very excited to hear what people have to say.
Well, with that being said, we have gotten to the end of this episode. But before we close out, we always do our media we've been consuming, things bringing us life outside of of work, the podcast, etc.
Yeah.
Helene, what have you been consuming?
First, I was going to say like lots of Marvel things. So I've been watching Hawkeye. I watched Shang-Chi over the Thanksgiving break. And then I also, on Sunday, I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home, which, by the way, oh my God, amazing. Go see it if you haven't yet. I'm sorry if you can hear my cat. Albus Percival Wolford Brian Dumbledore cat version is just screaming in the background.
Is he saying, "Bitch, you didn't take me to
Yeah,
watch this"?
why did you take me to see Spider-Man? That's exactly what I was saying. I'm a Spider-Man fan too, gosh. No, it's great. I always Spider-Man's one of my all-time favorite superheroes, and so like this movie was just was so it ticked all the boxes. It was so heartwarming. Go see that as soon as you possibly can. But then I also wanted to give shout out honorable mentions to we got 2 new Wizarding World related trailers in the last like week and a half, 2 weeks. One was the Fantastic Beasts Secrets of Dumbledore trailer that came out.
Mm-hmm.
So excited for that. So many things we could talk about just in that trailer alone. Go listen to Speak BC. They've talked about it a little bit if you want to like hear theories and like just dissections of the trailer, because it is good. And then we also just recently got the trailer for the reunion special that they're doing, that they're going to release on HBO Max on New Year's Day, with like all the cast of the movies coming back and for the 20th anniversary of Sorcerer's Stone. So that trailer made me cry. I am so excited. New Year's Day, that is the first thing I am doing.
Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah.
I love all of this media. Mine is not as exciting.
All the Harry Potter love.
I mean, I don't want to like, duplicate the ones that you've done, but the one that that is not a duplicate, it is The Witcher Season 2. We have Henry Cavill reprising his role as Geralt of Rivia, aka The Witcher, the White Wolf. So beautiful.
So many names.
Just really does it for me. Helene, you have to start watching it.
I know, I do. I also want to start playing the game. I don't know if I want to do the game first and then watch, or watch and then the game.
Watch first so we can discuss.
That's probably fair, because I have like 80,000 games like on my playlist that I have not yet gotten to. I'm currently playing Pokemon Shining Pearl obsessively at the moment. So
look, The Witcher Season 1 got me through like the March 2020, April 2020 of it all. So always a soft spot in my heart.
Oh,
also,
totally.
That wig looks beautiful on Henry Cavill. I am not a Henry Cavill person. I think he's too pretty
yeah,
in real life. But like, as The Witcher, he really does it for me. I'm sorry. I've talked about this ad nauseum with my husband, who is just like very patient.
You should ask Seth one year to dress up as him for Halloween.
I have asked for him to grow out his hair. He won't. I'm like, what if I get you a wig? I'm like, what about the outfit? Can we deal with this? Like, I need this for my life.
Can you please just grow your hair out to shoulder length, dye it white, and then put it in a half ponytail? No reason.
Well, no, he doesn't have to even dye it white. It's already white, girl.
Okay, all right.
It's not a big ask, okay?
You don't have to dye it, but you have to grow it to shoulder length and put it in a half ponytail. A half
yes,
up.
it really just does that for me. I don't know why. And also, like, he barely speaks, and it's like really his voice is really growly, and he grunts a lot. Yes, that's what I want.
So isn't that already kind of Seth? I can't say.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay. Like, it's just my type. Okay.
I was gonna say, I haven't actually met Seth in person yet, so I can't like say for sure. But I feel like I know that he's that person. So
yeah. So like, come on, let's get you in black leather. Let's do it.
Amazing.
Also, I came up with like a great subtitle for season 3 of The Witcher whenever it gets renewed, but it's spoilery, so I can't share the joke with anyone, with you until you've watched it.
Okay. I'm sorry that you have to hold that in for so long.
Honestly, that, it's killing me.
Yeah. Well, as soon as I get started, you know me, I'll finish both seasons within like a weekend, so...
I think it's only 16 episodes, Helene,
Oh, I can finish that in a day. I mean, I have very strong powers.
So yeah, your prowess is legendary.
Okay, I'd say a day and a half. Give me a day and a half, I could finish that.
Look, holidays are coming up that you're not celebrating, so I'm just saying go with The Witcher.
That's true. That's very true.
I am definitely, my mom was here and she was like, oh, so you're going to decorate for Christmas? And I was like, nope. I'm the Grinch this year. And she's like, what? I'm like, I am pregnant. We're trying to build a nursery. Do you really want me to take time out of my day to decorate? And then when you come back in February or March, the decorations will still be up because I know myself? No, no thanks.
Yeah, you'll have to like hire someone to take them down if you want them to come down. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. Well, that's it for today's episode. Please join us next time as we talk about Chapter 20 of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, titled Lord Voldemort's Request.
Yeah, interesting. I'm trying to think of like I don't remember what the request is, so I'm thinking like, what did he like request? Like no pickles.
Well, but we do
on
have
his
a request
hamburger?
of our own, Helene.
Yeah, yes, we do. Our request, and maybe this is Lord Voldemort's request too. In which case,
Who knows?
If you don't do this, maybe he'll murder you. I'm just gonna say, who knows? But our request is to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're happening to be listening to our lovely voices at this very moment. Because if you've enjoyed this conversation, it's only fair because we're delighting you. So therefore, I would hope that you would want to delight us in return with a 5-star rating.
And until then, politics managed.
Also, Voldemort will kill you if you don't.
Support this show by going to patreon.com/occhiopolitics. Our patrons keep this show going. You can find us online at occhiopolitics.com, and we are at occhiopolitics on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can email us your thoughts at info@occhiopolitics.com. Leave us a voicemail at 915-996-1699, and you might just hear yourself on the podcast. Adriana Wilson is the founder and creative director of the podcast. Helene Karp is the producer and social media manager. Allison Pullman is the audio wizard and editor who makes us sound so good. Cover art and physical rewards are designed by Adriana Wilson. The views expressed by the hosts and guests are expressly their own and not representative of their employers or associates. Occiopolitics is part of the MuggleNet family of podcasts.